Hello, my name is Alexandria Muncie, and I decided to do this project on visual impairments exceptionalities. What are visual impairments? So, visual impairments is any level of vision loss that has an impact on somebody's life in their daily tasks, like waking up and walking to the bathroom, or making food, trying to do schoolwork, things like that. The term visual impairment includes both completely blind and also like low vision. So, some people who are considered visually impaired can still see a little bit, but they're still considered visually impaired because they don't have as much visibility as people need to have in their everyday lives to be able to um, go through life smoothly. So, people with visual impairments have different levels of visual functionality. Okay, so here are some characteristics and signs of visual impairments. So, I got these from the IRIS modules as well as the Eduardo Besser MD website, which is a website for medical things for people with visual impairments. And it just describes a lot of different characteristics on that website. As well as procedures that you can have done. So for some characteristics of visual impairments, um, there's reduced visual acuity, blurred vision, tunnel vision, light sensitivity, night blindness. There's some signs could be like bumping into objects, moving hesitantly, hugging walls, tracking or following moving objects, um, possibly causing the person to bump into others, or like when lining up for recess, they might bump into other people, squinting or tilting your head to see things, having trouble distinguishing faces, um, and then also locating items in like their general area. So here are the types of visual impairments this I got from the IRIS modules as well. There is reduced visual oh my gosh, it's really hard for me to say that word. Acute acuity and impaired visual fields. So there's impaired acuity, impaired peripheral fields, blind spots, the lower half or the upper half. Could even be like one of your sides that you can't see. So like you can only see through the left half of your eyes. And these are just visual impairments examples, and you could also, obviously, as I said, visual impairment also includes completely blind where you can't see anything, and there's also where they can only see like lights or shapes but they can't see what's actually there, like shadows and things. Okay, so for educational considerations, some educational considerations for students with visual impairments are that the core curriculum needs to be altered and taught in a way that makes sense for the students, and teachers will have to find new ways to teach the students with visual impairments because they do not learn the same way that other students do. If you had a visual impairment, you cannot just read a book, right? You're going to have to figure out a different way for those students to be taught to read. So, like through Braille, as seen in this picture, or even audiobooks, things like that. So, here is expanded core curriculum, which is really beneficial for students with visual impairments. I got this from the IRIS modules as well. So, the examples are like compensatory skills, functional skills, and communications. So, like Braille's, large print, learning how to speak to a student with visual impairments as well as them talking to you, orientation and mobility skills, social interaction skills, independent living skills, which is like they need to be taught like personal hygiene, food preparation, how to manage their money, which honestly that's for any student, not even just ones that have visual impairments. Their recreation and leisure skills need to be taught differently. Career education and professional skills, that is going to be completely different from a person who can see. Career education and professional skills, which is what I just read. Assistive technology skills and visual efficiency skills, where the amount of vision they have should be used effectively and properly to the point where they can still see a little and help themselves. Unless they're completely blind, then you could use different ways of teaching them efficiency through your classroom, through like tactile or audio. And then students with visual impairments should be accommodated through visual, tactile, and auditory senses. These are some examples that I also pulled from the IRIS modules. So for visual accommodations, it's like in large print, different fonts, high contrast, papers, contrast enhancing aids, closer proximity to the teacher, closer proximity to the board, closer proximity to the video you're playing, the projection, whatever it may be. Tactile is like transcribing your print into Braille, which there's assistive technology for that. 3D models or objects. So if you're teaching geometry, you can find like a real cube and hand it to them so they can feel what a cube feels like. And hands-on experiences is very beneficial, or using multi-sensory educative techniques. And then for auditory, it's like audiobooks, detailed descriptions of lessons and videos, recorded responses, so like they can turn in their assignment as a recorded response instead of typing it out or instead of writing it out. So teaching students with visual impairments in the classroom. So these are some recommendations for teachers in these areas. There are 8 different areas, some recommendations. For students with visual impairments. So for the least restrictive environment, which is LRE, students, not even just students with low incidence disability, students with any disability, not even just students with visual impairments too, they need to be spending as much time in the general education setting as possible, especially with their general education peers, while still receiving their needs. There should be aids like accommodations and braille, audios, assistive technologies, anything that the student needs, and to make sure that the student is in the right place. Yeah, just talk to the gen ed teachers, the SPED team, everybody. See how the student is doing in the general ed setting with inclusion, and if they're being treated okay and things like that. And if they aren't really understanding the content and things, then you can adjust the amount of time that they are in the gen ed setting. But for the least restrictive environment, they should be in a gen ed setting as much as possible. And for inclusion, this makes sure that students with visual impairments are given access to general education curriculum with non-disabled peers. So students with visual impairments should be included in all activities in the classroom. Using peer interaction and collaboration in lessons will benefit students with visual impairments. An inclusion classroom with students with visual impairments, everyone should learn to interact properly with each other, like speak your name to the student with visual impairment so they know who's talking to them, or before you leave, make sure you say, "Hey, I'm leaving," or so that they don't just keep talking and you're not there. And also, everyone should learn to respect each other and to be inclusive in an inclusion setting. For instructional strategies, using all senses besides just relying on visuals is a great idea because multi-sensory instruction, like touching things, hearing things, and being kinesthetic, benefits all students, not only students with visual impairments. And providing in-depth, clear explanations and descriptions of visual items will help students with visual impairments, and it'll most likely help all students as well. And using hands-on projects and materials to teach is beneficial. And then also allowing extra processing time for students with visual impairments for any assignment, allowing maybe extra time to do the assignment as well. And then for curriculum, be sure that all curriculum tools that you use are provided in the right format for students with visual impairments, such as larger print, braille, a different type of font, the color overlay things, audiobooks, etc. Make sure you are still teaching make sure you have high expectations. Make sure you have high expectations and are teaching grade level materials because students with visual impairments are just as smart, or if not smarter, than everyone else. And have high expectations, as I just said, because they are completely capable of doing everything. They just have an ability that stops them from being able to see. Some evidence-based practices are using clear, explicit, detailed, systematic instruction and modeling, so that students know exactly what to do and how to do it, and like what they need to do in order to complete the assignment. All instruction and assessments should be based on student data and are based on students' individual needs, especially for students with visual impairments. Assistive technology should be incorporated into all your lessons so that students have their assistive technology along with your lesson, and are able to use it to complete everything that they need to do. And using a lot of repetition as well as guided practice really helps students learn and understand the lessons that you're going through. And for classroom organization, it's very important that your classroom is organized and clutter-free, because if there is clutter on the floor, the students with visual impairments are probably going to trip over things. The layout needs to be discussed beforehand and taught to the students so that they are able to walk through without any hazards happening. And having high contrast colors, like in this picture above me, will help them as well. Good lighting. So if hopefully you have a classroom with windows, if not, then get some extra lamps and everything. Glare reductions help students move in the classroom as well. And then also labeling everything with very large print. So up here you can see there's like a calendar on the wall and it's huge. So label everything with either very large print and a picture, or you can make braille and tactile representations of the materials that are like in the bucket, and that really supports independence of students with visual impairments. So for accommodations, these change how the students learn. Some examples are like extended time, provided audio versions of materials, assistive technologies, close seating to teachers, close seating to the board, large print, braille, color overlays, things like that don't change what they're learning. So modifications change what the students learn and the content being taught. So some examples are like reducing the workload, so everybody else does 5 and you only do 3. Easier assignments, so everybody has like if you're working on multiplication and somebody's just not there yet, they could do like addition instead. Um, and like alternative assignments. So for that, it could be a choice board given. So that's modifying what they're being taught, because if they're given the option to either do a poster or to make a 3D representation, that makes it different. But yeah, for students with visual impairments, it really depends on how severe their low vision is, for the different types of accommodations and modifications each student needs. So here are some examples of assistive technology for students with visual impairments. These I got from the American Foundation for the Blind website. I just took a screenshot of the things that they offer, and it provides a description of each thing. Assistive technology. Some of the products are accessible mobile apps, audible and tactile signs and warning surfaces, braille printers, braille translators, CCTVs or video magnifiers, deaf-blind multiple disabilities, digital talking book players, which is a hardware or the same thing in software, educational technology, electronic screen, note takers, for speech, um, some different games and activities, GPS hardware and software, household, personal, and other independent living products that they could use, lighting needed for students with visual impairments, low vision optical devices, miscellaneous speech products, optical character recognition system, also known as text-to-speech, refreshable braille displays, which are honestly really cool. They're like a display that it's braille, and then it can just like change into different braille depending on what they're reading, or what they're looking at, what the braille device is looking at. Screen magnification systems, screen readers, and speech synthesizers. So here are 5 assistive technologies for students with visual impairments in no particular order. I'm going to discuss each one. So screen readers, video magnifiers, screen magnification software, text-to-speech, which is optical character recognition or OCR, and braille. So screen readers are a device that takes what is on a screen and helps visually impaired students read what is on the screen with a speech synthesizer or a braille display. So here, that could be being read out loud and see the screen is very big so that they're able to see it. Or this one down here, what's on the screen is being translated into braille on the braille display. The screen reader's device is used for writing essays, reading online text, completing assignments on the computer, etc. These work well because it gives students with visual impairments complete access to learning using a computer, and they can either read everything out loud or translate it into braille to be read, which allows students to participate in assignments easily and equally as other students. The benefits of screen readers are that they replace visual input completely, so the students like this one at the bottom, the screen is blank, but there's still something on the screen that's being translated into the braille display so that they can see they can read what's on the screen. So students can just hear or read the braille without visually seeing it. And again, it allows full access to the computer without being left out of assignments. So these are examples of video magnifiers. So video magnifiers are closed circuit television systems that are used, whether a stand-mounted or a handheld video camera, to project a magnified image onto either like a video monitor like this one, a TV screen, or a computer monitor just like the one below. This device is used for reading handouts like this, viewing notes on the board, completing written work, looking closer at images like this one in the left corner, etc. There's many things that it can be used for. These work well because they allow students to see the worksheets, book text, whiteboard work a lot closer in real time so that they can complete their work without having the struggle of um, not being able to see it closely. These can also be used like close, like this one, or further away, like these ones, and just more magnified. Um, the benefits of video magnifiers are that they're flexible for multiple classroom tasks, whether it's viewing, reading, or understanding instructions, and they can be used for classroom distance, so students further away can still see the board without being close to the board, and it's not only used for reading, they can be used for other things as well. Screen magnification software. So, screen magnification software is a system that enlarges text and graphics on a computer screen. So, like this one, the icons have been magnified to be able to see what they are. And for this one, the text on the Word doc has been magnified to be able to see what they're typing. It's similar to a magnifying glass, but it's a software for technology. Um, Students with more severe visual impairments, they can use a monitor that is connected to the computer, which makes it even bigger, which is like the video magnifiers that I showed you. This device is used for zooming in on slides, documents, websites, adjusting contrast for better visibility, magnifying text, or magnifying objects and images so that they are blown up to be able to see more clearly, and there's more that it could be used for. These work well because it helps students use the vision they have to see effectively without modifying instruction, and it also works on common classroom devices like Chromebooks, tablets, laptops, etc. The benefits of screen magnification software are that they are easily implemented into the technology that's already used in your classroom, and they help students with visual impairments as much as possible. And it helps let them be included in what you're doing in the classroom, which can improve their accessibility to the general education content. Text-to-speech devices. So text-to-speech devices, also known as optical character recognition systems, take a text and read it out loud to the student. This device is used for reading text or books out loud, scanning handouts to be read out loud, listening to textbook work that they need to do, or just accessing materials. These work well because it makes it easy for students with visual impairments to read what is given to them. The devices also quickly scan and recognize and read printed worksheets or like this one down below, how it's reading out the book that's underneath it, um, or provides read out loud audiobooks, and helps students keep up with work when the materials being given out are not already pre-accommodated for the students with visual impairments. So the teacher can just give out the paper materials, and the student can just have this device and use it to read it to them. The benefits of text-to-speech devices are that it saves time in the classroom and reduces teacher workload to translate the text into braille or audio on their own, while improving student access to the classroom printed materials and improves access to the general education curriculum. So Braille translators. Braille translators are a software or a hardware that takes a document and converts it into Braille using its own translation rules. So this device is used for uploading text or worksheets or scanning text and worksheets and converts them into Braille. Um, and the teacher can either have like a Braille printer to print out the Braille, or they can give a student one of these Braille translators or a Braille display device where the Braille of the assignment pops up on the device like this, and they're able to read the assignment on their own. These work well because they help teachers quickly give materials to students with visual impairments while providing them access to their content in their classroom, and it also ensures that students are receiving the same instruction as their peers without the instruction being modified for them. The benefits of the Braille translators are that they give students with visual impairments equal access to the curriculum, as I mentioned, but it also saves time and provides accurate Braille, and they support student independence because the student can just take the paper that the teacher gives them and then put the Braille translator onto it, and it can read it. It can translate it into Braille so that they can read the assignment on their own, or even like connecting it to a computer so that it will read the screen, or it will translate the screen into Braille for them to be able to read. So, related support services and accessibility. There are many educational supports for individuals with visual impairments, such as IEPs and expanded curriculum, as I mentioned previously. Sorry, I had a hiccup. Um, there are specialized services like teachers who support students with visual impairments, which is the TVI, orientation and mobility specialists, paraprofessionals, and any other service needs like counseling or therapy or occupational therapy, speech therapy. There are many assistive technology supports, like the few I mentioned previously, like text to speech, braille translators, magnification systems. There are classroom accessibility supports like the accommodations and modifications like larger print, braille, the color overlays, audiobooks, tactile materials, clutter-free layouts, clear pathways, high contrast materials. So like in this classroom down below, that backpack might trip a student who is blind. So in your classroom, you would have to tell all of your students like, hey, our student has visual impairment, so you're gonna have to pick up your backpack and put it on your chair so that they don't trip over it. Labeling everything in the classroom to be able to be felt by the students with low with visual impairments. There are social supports like peer interactions, as I mentioned before, learning how to communicate with others and for others to learn how to communicate with individuals with visual impairments, such as saying, "Hey, Stacy, it's Exandria. I'm talking to you. I just wanted to say hi. How are you?" And then they can respond, and before you leave saying, "Bye, Stacy, I'm leaving now." And so they know who's talking to them, and they know when you're leaving, and they know when you're talking to them. Um and also there are many organizations and community services for individuals with visual impairments, such as the National Federation for the Blind. And then transition of individuals with visual impairments. So every student's transitional needs are different. It does not matter who the student is. Not every student is going to have the same transitional plan. So towards the end of high school, students with visual impairments will need a transition plan for going on to post-secondary school like college, or going to an employment facility or job. So by the end of high school, students with visual impairments should know a lot about themselves and should be independent, and they should know the devices that they use in order to translate what they need into their future, and be independent when they go to post-secondary school or when they're employed. Um, the TVSI mentions components of a transition plan, like activities based on the student's individual needs, preferences, and interests, and goals that address a range of post-school activities. Students can have help making an individual plan for employment, where they have an employment goal with what services and supports they need to reach the goal, and it should be based on the needs, interests, and strengths of the individual with visual impairments. So continuing on, this picture at the bottom of the how schools can support transition, that is from the TSVI website. So for students with visual impairments transitioning to college, there is a plan that includes choosing colleges that fit the students' wants, needs, and strengths. It should also address the disability services and accommodations that the student needs and how the student can request accommodations as well. And a plan for independent living, campus navigation, and social integration as well. Schools can support student transitions as well. So the TSVO website shows that schools can a school IEP team can create work-based learning opportunities like job shadowing, internships, and mentoring, use career assessments and interest inventories to guide planning for the students with visual impairments, link academic content to real-world applications so they know what they're getting into, and schools can teach students how to explain their disability and request accommodations in college and the workplace, as well as align school accommodations with what is realistically available in the post secondary settings. Thank you. These are my resources.